Well, we're back. We're now going to go into stage 2. Stage 1 had the brief little introduction in terms of who I am, what I do, how I paint, and we saw the background go down on that, limited palette, lots of water, lots of paint, lots of splashing. So that's kind of pretty much the way I paint. So here's stage 2 now. We're going to go and we're going to start dropping the figure in. Now, I've developed a really interesting system of doing this that works very, very well for me. And as with all things, it may not work for you, it works for me, I'm comfortable with it, and really at the end of the day, that's really all that matters. So we'll go back to the table, we'll pop the figure in on stage 2, then we'll take a short break. Next video you'll see will be what I call the tweaking stage, where we tie the figure into the painting, add any special effects that we need, move it forward till we get to the signature stage. So when we get back to the table, we'll be ready to put the figure in and move it into stage 2. Good. See you then. Alright, there we are. Taking just an ordinary oil palette knife, just a metal edge knife, and I'm just going to scrape some marks up into here. And the one thing I don't want to do is I don't want to start thinking rocks. I don't want to start thinking things. I want to keep it as shapes. I'm going to start scraping some lines here. Yes, this is very, very wet. It is still absolutely soaked. And I want to take advantage of that because as I scratch into here and I damage and affect the surface of that paper, the paint will flow in, creating those nice thin tree trunk branches into here that is going to help me layer up these trees. A little drier over on this side, and we can see that the lines are staying a bit whiter. Here, what do we got? Again, as you get into this scraping, great fun, but you have to remember that once you scratch the paper like this, that mark will stay. You cannot paint it out, not even with black paint. So you want to consider these marks very, very carefully because once they go on, as I say, they tend to be of a permanent nature. So take great care and caution with that and just don't get crazy with this. I don't mind that. Not crazy about that one. Maybe another light one here. There we go. I'll take that right over top there. I want to have this tree come past that other tree and overlap that. Now, just before I go, we're drying up fairly nicely. Still very wet over here, drying up a little bit into here. I'm just going to take an ordinary Trigger spray bottle. And in my world, this is probably one of the most underrated tools that you can have. I want to create some texture or a feeling of foliage into these trees. I don't want to have to paint that because every time I go to touch it with a brush, I might lose some light. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stand back here a little bit and I'm just going to put a few droplets onto my paper. And if my timing is right, it should start to form little blossoms or a little bit of droplets onto here that will look and feel like leaves, or failing that, even just texture. So let's bring that in a little bit here and see if we can't see some of that. So salt works well too. I just don't like salt. Alright. I think we're getting some just over here. I'm just going to pull this camera forward a bit. There we go. And we'll zoom in on that. Hold her there. So this area here, you can see some of the spots, droplets coming into there, creating a little bit of texture, creating some interest in here. By using the spray bottle, I've allowed the paint to be pushed and pulled up and float out. And it helps maintain a luminosity into my painting. Let's go over to the other side here and see what we can find over there. And there is some granulation, and again there is some spots over on this side and up into here. Again, creating just some texture. I'm going to leave that be for now. But as I play with this, I see one thing that really is concerning to me, and that's this angle right here. So I'm just going to take my little tulip brush, and before it gets too crazy, I'm just going to soften that hard edge out of there and leave that be. Just looking for any little areas here that might become problematic. My mountains have virtually disappeared behind there. We see a hint of it here, but for the most part they're gone, and I will make a decision once this dries whether or not I even need to put those mountains back up into that. So there we are. That's stage one. We've put the figure in, pardon me, we've put the backdrop in, done a little scraping, some texturing, lots of splashing. We're going to let that dry. Then we're going to come back in and I'll walk you through the process, that how I introduce my figures and how I incorporate them. So the next stage will be, again, choosing the figures, placing them in here, determining where to locate them, transferring that drawing onto here, painting the figures in, blocking them in. And third phase, the next segment will be finishing it off, what I call tweaking, making sure that the figure is integrated well into the background, the painting is balanced, any special effects that I feel that I might need, any last minute changes. That's the hard part. It's the fun part, but it's the hard part. Anyway, there we are, stage one. We'll pick you up again when this dries and we'll start in again. See you soon. And we're back. So our background has dried now. If you recall me mentioning that the colors do get a little bit lighter as they dry. Looking up here at the monitor on the camera, you're seeing it's a little bit darker than actually what it is, but I'm very happy with the muted tones. The scraping came out quite nice. I love the negative shapes. The blue seems to be found back into here, so it is harmonized, it is repeated. But this stage, we want to pop a figure in. We want to start creating a focal point. In my hand here, I have a large pile of sketches that I have done, reference materials that I've used, and I've redrawn these onto tracing paper, and I use these to determine which figures are going to go into my painting, and more importantly, where. And I've gone through the pile and I've chosen this one. It's a series of 3 riders and a pack horse coming into here, and I'm going to zoom in on this just a bit for you so you can get a better sense of the sketch. There we go. And we'll just adjust the camera there and bring that up there. So there's our sketch that we're going to be using. Now, the advantage of using tracing paper like this is I have 2 options with this. Now I can take this and I can flip this and I can have them going the other way in the painting. I can go back and forth onto this and I can have them go any direction that I want. So what I'm going to do is look at this. Now these riders are almost all on the same horizontal plane. And there we go, straighten that out there for you. Horizontal plane, I've got lots of quiet lines into here, not a lot of strong energy. It's got a very sort of quiet, stately sort of feel. And this is not a high intensity painting. There's not a lot of energy coming into here. And I quite like the fact that they're a little higher at this end and a little lower at that end, moving down from left to right. Where exactly do I want to put them? I've got this mark here which I think I'm going to take advantage of. And I'm going to play a little bit. I'm looking at this light area with the lance coming into here. I want to have them entering this space up into here. And yes, this fellow is going to be right smack in the middle, and over here and over here are my points. So we're a little bit below the halfway mark. I like how that feels. I like how that looks. Once I've determined my figure in terms of scale and placement, then I go to the next step. This is just a piece of clear plastic, a clear plastic report card cover that you would buy at a stationery store in Staples or Office Depot or wherever you would find paper and report card and school supplies. I'm going to take this and place this over top of my figures. And then I'm going to take just an ordinary dry erase marker here. Let's bring that up there for you. You can see dry erase marker. This is a whiteboard marker. This is Staples' own brand, not that it matters. You don't want to use a permanent marker. You want to use a dry erase marker. And so what I do then is I just very quickly and simply block in these figures, creating just a dark shape, silhouette if you will, a signature shape into that. So there's one done. I'll just click off here, we'll do the other ones, and we'll come back when we're all finished.